Little bit.
Welcome back to Little Bits of Language. Today we have a fun animated read aloud of a story in English. If you prefer lower sensory input or a bedtime read, we have a softer version available on our channel. Our read alouds are done by Aisha and I, co-founders of Little Bits of Language and fellow speech language pathologists. We love bringing our childhood language development expertise to you, one little bit at a time. Some little bits we'd like to share with you today are some reading tips to think about while you're listening to and watching this read aloud. You can also use some of these tips after the fact. The first one is to use WH questions. Again, you can use this during the story and ask, who is that? Where are they going? What are they doing? And you can ask those questions after the story as well. This will really help seal in details and information about the story. The second is to pause when needed, whether you're pausing the video here to wait before you go on to the next part of the story. If you're reading an actual book and you're just taking the time to process, hey, what's going on? Let's kind of rehash what's been going on in the story before moving on. Use pauses generously as much as you need them. The third thing is to relate the story to a child's real life as much as possible. Maybe you're reading a story about a character going to the park and you all just went the day before and you can talk about that. Oh, remember, we did this yesterday too. We saw some of these things as well. Maybe there's slides and a swing and things like that. So that's important to relate to their own life. And the last big tip that we have for this one is to retell when you can. Maybe you're going to, in those pauses, you might retell something that just occurred, or you might read through the whole story and allow an opportunity to retell after the fact by flipping through the pages and just letting the child point and talk about the story. This will be really important to, again, seal in any of those details you've already talked about, review and think about the story events that took place, and that starts to help them form their own narratives and how to structure stories in the future. So make sure you use these tips as needed. We leave them there just as something to think about and then remind you of, but you're certainly welcome to do any of those at any time that they feel right, and as much as you need to. So now let's get into today's story.
Olaf and the Three Polar Bears by Calliope Glass. Hello, it's Olaf, your favorite snowman. You're just in time to hear about that day I made some new friends who may have just been a dream, but wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Do you want to hear the story from the beginning? You do? Well, once upon a time, I was walking in the woods with my two friends, Anna and Elsa, doing what I love most, smelling flowers. Before I knew it, the two of them had wandered off. They were probably lost and alone somewhere in the woods. It's a good thing they had me to find them. I called out their names, but all I heard was my own echo. Just when I was about to turn back, I found a cottage. It was the most adorable little house I'd ever seen. Maybe I could meet some new friends who would help me find my old friends. I knocked on the front door, and it swung open. "Hello?" I called. "Is anybody home?" But nobody answered. "I guess maybe whoever lives here went out for a walk too," I said. "I bet they even met up with Anna and Elsa. This is perfect. I'll just make myself comfortable and wait for them to come home." While I was waiting, I smelled something really good and went to explore. In the kitchen, I found 3 bowls of porridge on the table. The biggest bowl smelled fishy to me, and the middle-sized bowl smelled a little too much like carrot, which is good for noses, but not for porridge. But the little bowl smelled the best, like summer and all things wonderful, with just a hint of cinnamon. Smelling is one of my favorite things to do. Did you know that? Flowers, berries, even porridge. And that little bowl smelled amazing. But when I picked it up, Choo! I sneezed the bowl right out of my hands and it shattered on the floor. I'll have to ask my new friends to make this for me again. Wait, speaking of friends, what was taking mine so long anyway? Since they weren't back yet, I grabbed my nose and continued exploring the cottage. There were 3 chairs in the living room, a big chair, a medium chair, and a little chair. I had a good idea of who my new friends were. One would give big hugs, one would give medium hugs, and the last one would probably give little hugs. I tried to get into the big chair, but it was a little too tall for me. I managed to get on the medium chair, but it had too many cushions, so I plopped myself down in the little chair. It rocked just the right amount. Ah, so comfortable. But I rocked too hard and whoop! All this waiting was getting exhausting. I needed to find a place to rest until my new friends came back with Anna and Elsa. I kept walking around the little cottage, and soon I found the bedroom. There were even 3 beds to choose from. I tried each one, of course. The big bed smelled like fish, just like the big bowl of porridge. The medium bed was covered in fur. It felt like cuddling up with Sven, which is nice for a snuggle, but not for a nap. I got under the blanket in the littlest bed, and it was so cozy it felt like a big hug from my friends. I thought about how nice it would be to find them again and maybe go for a nice walk in the woods. As I was thinking about my old friends and waiting for my new friends to come home, I decided to rest my eyes just for a minute. But while I was resting my eyes, my new friends came back. As they made their way through the cottage, I'm sure they were happy to find a new friend had come. They came upstairs to find me, a cute, sweet, innocent little snowman snuggled under the covers in their bedroom. I was so happy. My new friends weren't just any new friends. They were new friends who loved the snow as much as I did. Because they were polar bears. I jumped out of bed and ran so fast my legs could barely keep up. That's when I ran into Anna and Elsa. Maybe Elsa could make some snow for us all to play in. Polar bears and snowmen love playing in the snow. Did you know that? Where were you, Olaf? Elsa cried. We've been looking everywhere. You'll never believe it, I told them. I found a little cottage, and it had yummy porridge and a comfy chair and a snuggly bed, and I met some new friends, and they're polar bears. Anna laughed. Sounds like you had a dream, Olaf, she said. Elsa smiled too. I think Anna's right. Could it have been a dream? It had all seemed so real. The porridge, the bed. But then again, you know what? I said. It probably was a dream. That sure would explain a lot. As we headed back to the castle, I shook my head. Silly Olaf. There never was a cottage with any polar bears after all. Or was there? The end.
What a great story, right? Now let's see how much everybody was paying attention. We're going to be putting up some questions that we as speech therapists use to check for understanding of the story. These questions can also be asked during the story, and you're welcome to do that when you watch the next read aloud, or if you want to stay tuned just after these questions show, there's going to be an opportunity to tell the story in your own words with a silent retell video. Now let's get into those questions. Good luck! Thank you so much for listening to today's story. Remember to like and subscribe to stay connected with us. We'll continue to post more videos with story read alouds, recommended toys for kids, speech therapy questions, and any topics or videos requested by you, our audience. Also, remember to check out our social media pages and our website, littlebitsoflanguage.com, for more content. See you soon.
Little bit.